innovation is intentional and to show them that there's a process for this. It's not just Zeus hitting you with a lightning bolt and you coming up with an idea and letting that idea ruin your life. We can systematically innovate in the market. Welcome to the Startup Defense. I'm your host, Callye Keen. In this intro episode, I want to explain to you why I started this show. Maybe you know me from my e-commerce and commercial business focused show and hype. Maybe you know me from my family manufacturing company, Kform. Maybe you have been in an incubator, an accelerator, or you've seen me speak at some event at some point. Regardless, if you've never even heard of me, you don't know what I'm doing, what I've done, I want to solve that for you today. I want to give you absolute clarity on why I have this new show. What are we going to talk about? How is this beneficial to you? All that good stuff. First, the startup defense, the premise of this is I grew up in manufacturing. I've been doing product development for 15 years, and that's led down a lot of interesting avenues working with high growth startups and big companies. And we'll get into all that in a second. But what I've realized, because my background in my manufacturing company is focused on defense innovation, what I realized was that's pretty slow and it's difficult for people to break into. That's getting easier and easier. And we have some great guests lined up who will explain how that can work. But working in the startup world, I realized a lot of people don't have the pragmatism that we have in defense or in tech innovation. So in the startup world, it's a lot of fancifulness and academic approach to entrepreneurialism. I wanted to solve a little bit of that in my previous show and hype to show people, hey, innovation is intentional. But this show, we're going to look at the intersection of two things that I really love, which is that entrepreneurial spirit. Hey, we have the hubris that we can change the world. We can make it a better place. Maybe we can make a couple dollars or we can do something interesting. We can build this legend of ourselves. We can help people as well. But I want to explore the intersection of that thing, that feeling, that market, and what I do day to day, which is defense innovation. We make rugged computers, tactical radios. I've made things that go to space and things that are crawling around in the bottom of the ocean. We make really cool stuff. Predominantly, I make secure communication devices. They handle some of the most important data and missions in the world. It's really great. I consider it a privilege to have grown up in this space and developed this skill set. But what's going on in there could massively benefit from what we do in these incubators and accelerators. So I wanted to mash these two things together. And conceptually, the startup defense is because I believe that innovation is our best course for a better life, a better community, and to stick around as a civilization. We can't just do things the same way all the time. So that's what we're going to get into. If you haven't heard about me, I'll give you my quick spiel, but feel free to message me, connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to this podcast. You'll learn a little bit more about me, how I approach creating new things. How did I get here? That's a question that people ask a lot of me because it's not like you can directly go to school or sign up for a program. You can't take an online course for it. And I don't think there's a whole lot of gurus or thought leaders in my space that are just cracking this out. So it's definitely been a process and a journey for me. I grew up in manufacturing business. Family's company is Kform. We started as a general machine shop. So we would just make parts. Somebody would give us a print and we would say, this is going to cost this much. It's going to take this long. If you want to buy it from me, here you go. That led to having to reverse engineer parts. And that's where I came in. Previously, I did software development. I did web development. I had a web design business. I worked at several startups, did a lot of things. But like many small family businesses do, they suck you in. And I got sucked in about 2007 into the product development side of things. I had used CAD my whole life because I grew up in this space. I had done 3D modeling as a designer, and I knew how to make things because I had worked in production for 5, 6 years at that point. I started reverse engineering simple parts, and I knew how to make the drawings because one of my first jobs as a kid, I wasn't allowed to work at the mall with my friends. I worked in quality control. And so I'd probably seen more prints by the time I was 22 than most people would want to see in their entire life. For sure, they would want to see. But I knew how things got made and I knew how to make proper drawings that people could read. So relatively decent at drafting. So I started reverse engineering things. And then I love technology and I like building things. So we just started doing more and more complex projects. And today we are a product development company. We predominantly focus on the C5 ISR market. We do a lot of high tech things as well, secure communications, appliances as well, but predominantly we're in that C5 ISR market. We're making defense electronics and yeah, I build fairly comprehensive systems from the ground up. So software, firmware, electronics, hardware, interoperable systems from scratch. I have had the privilege again of working on all these projects and including somebody just coming into K form and us sketching out a design for a product, working with them through that idea, through that prototype, and watching them grow from one or two people to 10 people to 50 or 100 people, and seeing them exit those businesses for 20 million, 100 million, $200 million. And I just thought, man, that's so cool. You can have an idea, you get to hold it in your hand, you get to build your own destiny, this big business out of nothing, just your own idea and your wits and your ability to work with other people and collaborate and to sell. I was just so excited about this that I'd say about 7 years ago, I went out to go talk to communities and to universities that innovation is intentional and to show them that there's a process for this. It's not just Zeus hitting you with a lightning bolt and you coming up with an idea and letting that idea ruin your life. We can systematically innovate in the market. And that led me to mentor in incubators and accelerators and to go speak at the schools. And I realized that people did things in a very backwards way. And a lot of the ways that startups are being taught is just not how we do it in real life, and certainly not how we do it in defense. Working in the defense market, I saw the burning need to work with entrepreneurs or to commercialize technology or to commercialize intellectual property that's coming out of these universities or coming out of the labs. And the big disconnect between science and entrepreneurship, and then these high value problems, these things that are literal existential crises in our civilization, things like clean tech or defense or really important material science applications. There's just this massive gulf in between. So I started working more deeply with incubators. I started running my own accelerators. I started mentoring more people. And I've mentored a few people in that space. I've mentored a lot of people just with ideas in the e-commerce space and making exercise equipment, hair equipment. We've done all kinds of different pieces. And it's shocking how similar somebody starting a new business in the fitness market, how those lessons can then be reapplied to people in hard tech, solving these big civilization sized problems. This has really been gnawing away at me for a while. And that's why I launched this show, because I want to bring on my friends. I want to bring on the thought leaders in the space that I find what they're doing absolutely fascinating, whether it's in manufacturing or cybersecurity, it's in encryption, it's in computing, it's in automation, AI, all of these spaces where innovation is bubbling up. And I want to talk to the people that run these innovation challenges and these programs and the grants, and they work at the national labs, all these people that hold the needs, people like ARPA-E or DARPA and AFWorks and Naval X and Department of Energy, that I've had the opportunity to work with a few of those. I want to introduce those opportunities to the startup world. And I want to introduce the startup world to where all of these programs where you can get non-dilutive funding, where people are truly investing big money and you can work on something so much more powerful or so much more necessary than making a fun chatbot. That's what we're going to talk about in the startup defense is mashing those two worlds that I operate in and that I love. And we're going to see that intersection and where you can launch a business or where you can develop an idea into that market, or if you're in the defense market where you can reach out to innovation and you can pull those new ideas, that new intellectual property, and really advance and solve what you have in front of you. Stick with me. We'll have some great conversations and we'll see where this goes. I'm very excited about it. This is different. There's not really a whole lot of podcasts or shows that tackle this, and it might not be for everyone. I have a very pragmatic and almost casual approach to changing the world. I think that is part of our everyday life. This is just a thing that we should be. And I'm not a fancy person. I'm just someone that does this every single day. And I feel fortunate for that. If you want to learn more about what's happening with technology, what's happening with defense, how our world is changing really quickly, yeah, subscribe, stick around, listen to what I have to say, listen to what our guests have to say. And I'll say this, if you have something to say, message me on LinkedIn. We'll get you signed up. You and I can talk. You can present what you have because I want this to be a broad, open conversation. I want to bring new perspectives. And I do these things so I can learn and I can learn from you. If you have something to say, let me know. We'll get you on the show, or maybe you and I can just talk on a call. Anyways, I appreciate you. This is the Startup Defense, and I'm Callye Keen, and I'll see you on the next episode.